Testing, 1, 2, 3. Audience is growing. All right, Captain Sleeveless is here. There I am. All right, so we'll wait.
Hello, everybody, and happy Friday to all of you. Let me just turn on my camera and stuff here in just a few moments. We'll be starting. Awesome. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Fabiano. I am a YouTuber and streamer, and this is Mr. Matt here with the iRacing team. And NASCAR 26 is what we're going to be talking about. I'm very excited about this game. I'm a huge NASCAR fan. I'm a huge NASCAR gaming fan. I started playing NASCAR games back in 1994 with Papyrus's NASCAR Racing. And Matt, we've known each other for a long time. We started working in 2016.
Yeah, the running joke is we've known each other since we both had hair, right? Which is not, it's not a joke, it's an actual fact.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's why
long time.
Today, so we don't have to hide it.
We appreciate your support and you doing this for us. Super awesome to have you here. So thank you, buddy.
Absolutely, man. So, yeah, everybody's really excited about the details of NASCAR 26. We had the trailer drop, and at the end of the trailer, you had everything flashing really fast there. And people were on YouTube already breaking it down frame by frame to try to figure out what everything was. And I think there's some things in there that you're going to clarify with us today.
Yeah, we're excited to do it. And yeah, it was funny. I saw plenty of 20 and 30-minute videos out of the gameplay trailer. And that was kind of the point, right? Was to get some information out there and just get the buzz started, get people talking about it. So yeah, it was awesome.
Awesome. Well, we're not going to waste any of y'all's time. We're going to jump right into things here. The first one is coming in from Ndaw. Ndog88. There it is. Got it. Ndog88. His question is, will the force feedback with wheels be fixed compared to last game?
Yeah. So obviously a bit of a bumpy start with N25 on the wheel front, but I think we got there in the end. We did a ton of updates right as the game launched, but even more work has been done since then. And you know, I think there's an extra challenge for racing games, which is all this peripheral devices, right? And then on top of that, you have wheels from the $50 range to the multiple $1,000 range from brands you've never heard of. And some of them go from literally rubber bands and plastic gears all the way up to the direct drive stuff that if you're not careful with how you set things up, like they can literally break your wrists, right? And so I think with where we were with NASCAR 25, there was sort of a hesitant piece on our side to go too far to the extremes either way, right? To just kind of keep things a bit clamped down and a bit safer in the middle. And so over time, we fixed that in 25 with some of the patches, but then we've gone even further this year as well. So the centering spring in particular will have different levels that you can adjust. There's just more adjustability across the board, and we've been doing a ton of wheel testing that we didn't get to do as much last year with N25. So
yeah, I mean, I was one of those people that with my Thrustmaster wheel, I didn't have to worry about that so much. It was pretty good out of the gate. It didn't have that cogging or the thing in the center where it was really light in the center.
Yeah,
it could swim back and forth. And I remember back in the heat games, we had a lot of that happening with the swimming back and forth when you're just trying to go straight down the track. But good to know that we're getting more support for somebody's wheel they bought, off of eBay that you've never heard of, or details of it scratched off.
It's a good point because that's the benefit of iRacing, right? And having the resources and access to all the guys that tune the same stuff for the sim, and data and who drives with what settings and just knowing all that stuff, right? It's been a huge sort of avenue that's opened up for us to just have access to those guys to help us, and we'll get into that more in the future in some of the dev diaries that are coming up as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, you had the first dev diary out of the gate there, and when can we expect the next one?
In the next couple of weeks, we're actually shooting a whole bunch next week at the Nascar facility here in Concord, but there'll be at least 2 more, if not 3, leading into launch, kind of spread out all through late August and early September.
Yeah, and I find that's the most fascinating part of the dev diaries is not only does it humanize you guys, I get to know who you are as people that are behind the game, but also like what it actually takes. And we're going to go into that later on when I'm asking some questions. I'm going to hit you with like, what does it feel like to be actually behind the scenes making these things happen? Because there's a rhyme and reason for every single decision that gets made, for these games whenever they come out to everybody. And I know it's a difficult balance you have to constantly keep after. But one thing I do want to pivot from is from not just NASCAR 26 and NASCAR as an entity, but all the drivers that make NASCAR what it is. And my favorite driver has always been Kurt Busch. And then after Kurt retired, I moved over to Kyle Busch. And Kyle is, he was one of my favorite drivers of all time. And losing him was just so impactful to everybody. I know everybody here in the chat feels it too. And I know that that's like one of the biggest questions you guys get asked all the time. And Cool Dude 0288 wanted to know if there's going to be a tribute to Kyle Busch in the game, or if he's going to be in the game at all.
Yeah, I see all the 8s and the 18s flowing in the chat right now. It's, there's a strong argument to be made. He's not just one of the greats; he's one of the best to ever do it. Right? The man is a winner through and through. That showed in his personality on and off the track. And we worked very closely with NASCAR, with RCR, with KBM and the family, and just wanting to make sure that we do things respectfully and the right way. And so you're going to see some tribute things in the UI. You're going to see that tribute sticker that just rolled by in chat. That's going to be available in the car creator. And then he will be selectable in the Cup Series. So you'll be able to choose him as a driver. He won't show up in the AI field, but for those that want to use him in quick race and in multiplayer, he will be available. And that's, like I said, that's just a nod to one of the greats. And we feel the exact same way that you do. Love him or hate him, he was a winner, and he was tough to beat, and he was all those things on the racetrack that you want a race driver to be.
Absolutely. And that's good to hear. I know that's going to make a lot of people happy for sure, because they felt that impact, and to be able to at least drive as him is going to be awesome. And I assume that Austin Hill's probably going to be in the AI field themselves, because that's who I saw in the trailer you guys released.
Yep, he's in there as well.
Okay, so the 33 car will live on in the AI field.
Yep.
And we're going to move on to talking about something a little different, and this is online multiplayer. And mainly a lot of it is, this question right here is a lot to do with the decision to finally move over to the cross-platform, so you can play with each other that are on different consoles. And this one from Jacob, Jacob D's Motor, I believe is how you say his name. How do you invite players from other platforms to your lobby? So what is the lobby system going to look like now that there's cross-platform?
Yeah, so that's a good question. It's basically a filtering system. So what we did sort of intentionally is we allow you to select which platforms you want to participate in. So if you're on, just picking one of the 3, if you're on Xbox, you can turn on whether you want to see the PlayStation and the PC lobbies for those who have Xbox turned on, and vice versa. There's no direct invitational system, but there is password protected lobbies. So if you're in PC and you set up a lobby with a password, and I'm on Xbox, that's how you can get that sort of more controlled environment for league guys, or if you want to race with trusted friends and have a better experience. That's the way that you would do that. So we're excited about cross-platform. It's obviously something we didn't get to for N25, but it was sort of top of the list for our online features for this year. So glad to have that in.
Beautiful. Yeah, I know that's going to be. It's going to make the fields a lot stronger in certain ways, and maybe even weaker in some ways. I'm not sure how that's going to all work out, especially whenever you see the PC crowd that are going to be so die hard on their wheels, racing against people with controllers. I didn't have a problem racing with other people with controllers. There's a lot of amazing controller drivers out there that can drive better than I can on a wheel. So I totally understand that. And we're going to move things on a little bit here, speaking about controllers, speaking about console in particular. This one comes from Commander, asking, will the new game have better controller support with stronger vibrations and feedback? And has it been optimized so controller users aren't at a big disadvantage compared to the wheel users?
Yeah, there's a lot of parts to that question. That's like 6 questions in one, I think. But
yeah, there is a lot going on there.
I mean, I think, let's be honest, I think there will always be some level, a equally experienced driver on a wheel with an equally experienced driver on a controller. There's probably a little bit of a benefit to a wheel, right? And that's just purely physical, right? There's more modulation in how much you can move the gas pedal. There's more degrees in how much finite you have in your steering. Like, that's just nature of the beast stuff. However, again, one of the things that we really expanded this year is the controller settings. And I will preface all of this by saying you have to be very careful in those advanced control screens. We had some of this in N25, not as much as we do in N26, but when you go in there, you can just as much mess yourself up as you can make things better. And so with that in mind, one of the things that we added this year is a visual grid where you can actually see, as you adjust sort of how much play you have in your throttle, or how dead or how accurate the brake pressure is, things like that, you can visually see it. So if you turn down the dampening on the braking that really slows that quick pull when you pull on the brake, you can see how much that's actually slowing it in terms of what the game is seeing, and use that to kind of dial in
Sounds good.
Settings that you like. It's as with you and I have had this conversation a million times, but as with a lot of our games where we provide you so many sliders and so many options, it's one of those things where it's going to take a minute, right? It's going to take you going in there and practicing and running a ton of laps to get it where you want it to be. But I think the tools are there to really dial it in even more and get them closer to what the wheel users are experiencing.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know the newer PlayStation controllers, I was kind of caught off guard the first time I ever played NASCAR 25 on the new PlayStation controller, and you had that mushy, feel on the actual. Yeah, I didn't like it at all. Some people absolutely swear by it. I was like, I don't like this. I like the real springiness of it. But it's good to know that there's going to be more options. So hopefully that answers the question there for Commander. Is there anything else you wanted to add to the game controllers screen? Not really. Same stuff. All right, we're going to move on then. Next one is going to be by Dalhoon. Now, this is a physics-based question. What was the need for the full physics overhaul that was mentioned in the trailer? Is it because of the dynamic racing surface, just for more realistic handling, both, neither?
So I wouldn't say it's a need, right? I would say every year and every month, even when we're not shipping, we are constantly improving the game, right? And so a big part of that is constantly assessing where we're at on each vehicle, how they're being reviewed by fans, the feedback, and things like that. And so the bulk of those changes this year are really in the tire model itself, and this notion of being able to feel a little bit better where traction is going to break, especially under hard braking. Again, it's really easy to just kind of snap your finger and go to full brake. And last year, the only way you could really lock up the brakes, or the only fear you had of locking up the brakes if you had no assists on, was to really mash that, right? This year, it's going to be a lot easier to lock up the brakes, which makes it harder to drive, right? And back to that messing with your modulation settings and things like that, you're going to really want to dial that stuff in, especially at San Diego and Watkins Glen and anywhere that there's those sort of hard bus stops or hard lefts like San Diego has and things like that. So that's the goal. Again, we've got a dev diary coming up shortly, which features Steve Reese and Mike Berg. Steve Reese is one of the vehicle dynamics guys that works for across everything that iRacing does, not just the NASCAR game, but he is a physics guy. He was literally a race engineer on some of the race shops here in the NASCAR world here in Concord. And Mike Berg is one of the gameplay tuners. So we're going to get into a whole bunch of specifics. You know, again, you and I have had this chat many times, kind of behind the scenes, but last year we had to start talking very early about the game, and before honestly we even knew a whole lot about what was truly going to make it, what was going to hit the cutting room floor and things like that. These dev diaries that we have coming up are going to be a lot meatier. They're going to actually talk about the driving and the features and really dig in and show some things, show some differences in 25 versus 26. And so we're excited about that, to really get into some more specifics, but I don't want to take away too much from that on here.
Right. Yeah, and I think a lot of it, goes without saying, but like when it comes down to the driving model, it was just absolutely a step up from anything we had previously on a console game with NASCAR 25. And I loved how the cars drove. And I think a lot of my own personal question would be just like, what's the biggest change do you think with the driving model? We have a new tire model. What is that? Is based on temperatures, how fast they wear out, things like that?
I mean, it's really ultimately it's twofold. One is the changes that we made with dynamic track, which I think again we'll get into a lot more in the dev diary. But that's a big one. Was just having a more dynamic system across the board and being able to have a system that can adapt to a changing track. But I agree with you as a baseline. I mean, one of my favorite moments from 25 was it was you and it was one other influencer, and again I did a lot of talking, right? I did a lot of it's the best driving game I've made in 20 years, but like you know me, right? Like I'm not the guy. I don't say a bunch of stuff if I can't back it up. But it was fun to watch you guys actually see it, and the text I would get back immediately. I mean, I think it was 5 minutes into you playing the game, you were already texting me and be like, wow, you guys actually did it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the feeling off of the truck and the Xfinity car on the right rear off the corner. I was like, okay, this is something we haven't.
Not yet.
I always felt like the Heat games, the cars pivoted off of the X-axis.
Yep.
Even like the old ETX ones, they did the same thing.
And that's iRacing, right? They're the best in the world for a reason, and it's not a joke. Like everything that they are experts in is in this game. The tracks, the cars, the physics, it all translates. Now, obviously there's layers on top with assists and things like that they don't necessarily have available in the sim, but the core of what's there is truly the same, right? And that's where we've been trying to go for a long. I mean, I've been doing this too long, and the dream 25 years ago was, man, I wish iRacing could do console games, right? And here we are. Took us a while to get here, but here it is. We're finally here.
And I think there was a confusion about that in NASCAR 25. A lot of people didn't really understand who was behind the physics of 25. Everybody was like, well, I think these are just these canned physics from this game and this game or whatever.
I hope they read my question. I don't think they are, but you never know.
Close to the truth. Like iRacing deserves a lot of credit for what the work.
I asked about the AI, so I don't know.
All right, we're going to move on to something different. We got Dale Jr. Fan Freak asking, what's the #1 addition or improvement in this year's game that you are most excited about? You personally,
I think he's going to mention the track surface changing.
People are
just a guess.
All your cards yet, but
I was going to say that's like asking a dad to pick his favorite kid or something. I will tell you this: I've been very proud of our graphics leap, the new particles, the new lighting, the new
does look better,
the motion blur, and we didn't really call that out in the gameplay video, right? The new skies look amazing. there's dynamic lighting with the clouds or the sun going behind the clouds during sessions and things like that. And so people caught that without us pointing it out, which was for me sort of a blessing, right? Even like the grime that builds up on the cars from the new particle system, the better looking smoke from all the burnout stuff that we did, like all of that stuff was noticed pretty much immediately by all the various influencers and stuff. So that was fun to see.
Yeah, for me, seeing the car at night on the new training mode, and we can talk about that later on. But
Yeah.
the night lighting at Homestead, I saw a massive difference just off of that alone. So yeah, I noticed the graphical improvement, especially with clouds and all that stuff. And I don't know if anybody's going to be asking about clouds as much as me because I'm a weather nerd and I love severe weather and everything. But so the clouds, because you say skyboxes, and if people are new to that term, skybox is usually a BM, like it used to be a BMP picture or whatever it was back in the day, but they're basically just a 2D image way in the distance. And this time around, it looked like there was volumetric clouds actually forming inside of the Unreal Engine. Is that what's happening?
Yep, totally. And that's the thing, right? That moment when you're at Homestead or whatever, and some clouds roll by and that sun goes behind it for a few minutes while you're running some laps. It's dramatic, and it changes the feel of the whole game, and it adds to the immersion, right? We always talk about emotion and immersion being so important in these games, and it just adds to that.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see that for sure. We're going to move on to a question from Slayer. Slayer 90. Will blown tires be a thing? If so, will it occur online as well?
That's a good question.
So there's no terminal damage. It's honestly just a prioritization thing, right? There's so many things that are ahead of that in our minds from a priority perspective. Getting a spectator mode in online, which we still don't have for 26. Doing some silly season stuff. I know that's a huge one for all the career guys. Like, at the end of the day, game development is all about managing priorities and just putting things in a particular order. And so
I knew there
we've
wasn't
taken
gonna
steps,
be
right?
any,
Like DNFs
silly
are a
season,
thing for the
but,
AI cars. The player can
man, the
DNF
spectator
whenever
mode
they
would've
want
been
by
nice.
going into the pause menu. And so we're taking steps along the path to eventually get to terminal damage and get to more detailed stuff like that down in the future. But we're just not there yet, largely because of the other priorities. So, like, using online as the example, right? The reason spectator mode happens to be one of my own personal, like, I want that. I've wanted that since the beginning. It's just, we've got to get there, right? And so cross-platform is such a massive undertaking for the entire online team that you end up doing things in chunks. And so we know it's important. We know the leagues want it, and we will get it. It's just, it's kind of where all these things fall in priority order.
Okay, it
And
is
we
what
know
it
that we
is.
have new replay cameras that are coming out as well.
Yeah.
So we want something like that. I know me personally, I just would love to have a photo mode. Just a photo mode where you go in and just, as a creator, I'd love to be able to take pictures when I want to for thumbnails and things like that. But
well, that's,
the new replay cameras.
That's the other thing, right? And part of my job is marketing and publishing in that side of the world as well. And to give these league guys better tools for spectator mode and things like that, at the end of the day, it's more marketing, right? Like, they're putting that stuff on YouTube, they're putting the races on YouTube, they're doing cool camera angles, they're doing all that stuff. So it's ultimately a rising tide floats all boats situation. And so, like I said, we've got to keep the prioritization list going, and we'll get it.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to Dale Jr. Fan Freak. I think they're a fan of Dale Jr. How has the paint booth
He got two questions
to last year's game? I know that was one of the things that was
Yeah.
shown in the trailer. Hey, we have made improvements to the paint booth. What can we expect this time around?
Yeah. So this is like kind of a perfect segue to what I was just
I don't know
talking
who
about.
Dale Jr.
This year
Fan
is
Freak is, but he's got two questions read already.
Shift. We have gone to, I believe it's 50 shapes per panel. So it's technically not 50 shapes, it's 50 total. So that counts numbers, that counts anything that you can put on the side of a car counts as part of that 50. So it's 50 layers really per panel. But I think we had seven or eight
Yeah, I
last year,
agree.
something like that.
It was
I
under
mean,
10,
I don't
know
see
that.
another
So
developer that's
it's
going to do a
massive,
better
right? And
job.
so
Honestly,
you can
we just got to keep
mirror
pushing
one
them
side of the
along.
car to the other side of the car, the left side to the right side. But speaking to what I was just talking about, we don't quite yet have the save it as a decal or save it as a sticker so you can put it on the hood, or so there's still again improvements that we'll keep doing over the years. But this one step that we took this year is more like what I would call 3 or 4, just in terms of that. We hope to get a video of that out before we ship. We're going to try to get it built to one of our favorite community folks and have her do a video, but we'll get that date as it comes.
Fantastic. That's going to be exciting. Yeah, I know that whenever I was making cars, I got to say, just doing the online races, the creativity that was out there was incredible. Sometimes they passed off as like cars in the field. I was like, wait a minute, that's somebody made that. That's incredible. Like they did a lot.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what I said, right? Like at the end of the day, people making videos and showing how to do all that stuff, it's ultimately promoting the game and how awesome the game is. So I'm all for it.
Hey, John, that's a good question.
Moving on to
I'd like to know.
Jersey Devils 68 last year. Cup cars.
I only asked one question. I don't know. I hope they get to it. Maybe someone else will ask, but
even making custom
I asked about the AI pit strategy, any improvements to the AI, and also the pit stop times for the player. I asked about that, so hopefully they get to it.
You're very aware of this.
I'm pretty sure someone else asked about it as well, but it'd be nice if they read
the championship
my question off.
is yes. So you can use your custom car in championship mode, and that is new for 26. We did not let you do that for technical reasons in 25. So that is a new thing. But again, the cars at every track, that's another one for me. I have a lot, but that's another one that's one of my personals. And again, the reality is, I think we have 32 tracks times the 4 series times all the difficulty levels, running AI lines, all that stuff. It just becomes a ton of resources and a ton of hours put in. And so we will get there. As long as I am on this title, it will come eventually. It just takes a couple of cycles to get to that point. And, I hear this a lot in chats from influencers and certain topics that, they don't have what a game had 20 years ago, right? It's like everything is fresh.
Games you made 20 years ago.
I was, and I know where we need to get to. I know what we need to add, but it's not like we get those for free, right? Like I can't Control C, Control V something from 25 years ago just because it's been done before. It's a new engine. There's a whole bunch of reasons, but perhaps, iRacing is going to do things the right way. Not to say
I think they need to focus more on what's in the game.
They want to do things the right way. They want to attack them the right way. They want to build them for the long haul.
I think they're spending a lot of time on what's not in the game. I'm not sure that's a good way to go about it.
Of swooping in for a couple of years and doing a NASCAR game and going
I'll talk
away.
about
And
my thoughts
unfortunately,
when this is over.
that has been what has happened for a long time with this NASCAR license.
You guys want to
so everybody, NASCAR, the race teams, iRacing, all of us are aligned that we are building a franchise. We are here for the long term, and we are going to build this thing into an epic franchise over the long haul. And so a lot of these things just take time, and we'll get there.
And I know the community, their whole assumption was that it takes time to build all these setups. Because you have to have setups for each different, like an ARCA car at a track it doesn't run at. You'd have to come up with this fictional setup and times that however many cars you have versus the tracks you're putting in that year or taking out that year based off the schedule.
Let's give them a chance.
I can imagine that would be the case. And with doing that inside of Unreal Engine, a lot of people didn't know that back whenever you were using the Unity engines, whenever Unity was like a thing, most people were like, oh, well, if they just put it on Unreal, it's all of our problems will be solved. And that's not the case because Unreal is very difficult.
Hey, what's up, Dirt Game?
But a lot of people didn't know that back then, that wasn't just Unity. You guys had a special Unity made for those games. Or you were talking to Unity and they were giving you a special build to help do what you were trying to, get accomplished with your vision. and you're kind of limited sometimes because of that.
Yeah, and not even just that, but it's we don't even have access to that. Like everything you see in our people think, oh, the Heat games had XYZ. It's not the Heat game. Nothing in our game is the Heat game. Everything is rewritten. Everything is from the ground up. We don't own that. It was a different publisher. It was a different owner.
Yeah, I agree. That's
Stuff
what it looks like.
is completely gone and has been completely rewritten in large part to be better by, like I said earlier, with the physics of iRacing and all of these different elements that have come into it. But yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because it's something that you're always compared to, and I think you're always going to be. And that happens to me with, like, if I do a video series, it's always going to be compared to something I did in the past. So that's the reason why I want to bring it up, because I know people are asking about it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Mav 524. Will the game be released the same time as console and PC this time around? And will the game also be cross-play with console and PC?
Yes. So
Okay. That's
September
good.
18th for the regular launch, September 15th with the Gold Edition, all simultaneous. So every platform at the same time.
That's good news there.
They are all up for pre-order already right now. And then there's additional things you get with the Gold Edition.
I'm going to give you guys all my thoughts.
Scheme packs that
Just
will come
stick
out through the end of the
around
year.
until this is over.
You get some career accelerators, extra money, extra rep to help you advance quicker and things like that. But yeah, all at the same time and all across the same platforms.
Beautiful. All right. We'll move on to another gameplay question. Will the game be... Sorry, we already had that one. That was Mab. I'm sorry about that. No, this was a fun one that Fish Freak 447 wanted to know. What car do you daily?
Oh Lord, nothing exciting right now. I have this.
Why
thing,
are you reading
my wife
questions
makes fun
like
of me
that?
because
Like,
I go
who
back and
cares
forth
what-
from sports car to pickup truck. It's literally, if you look at my entire history, that's what it's been. So
Look
I
for
currently have a
Look for
I have
Disco
150. My
Inferno's
son,
question.
However, my middle son, we had a 65 C10.
I haven't seen a question
that
yet
got.
that's been
You've
read
up here in this
that is
area.
more
If you
important
go
than
out
the one that I
Concord
asked.
Roads and drive
I
up
asked
towards
about the
Mooresville, past
AI,
the old
the
DEI
pit
building
strategy,
and all that.
and
If
any
you ever
AI
want a
improvements.
pickup truck for you guys that are out there that love this stuff to restore, that's your place.
Like this
Go up
last
to Mooresville
question
and
is-
find one. But we had one. He convinced me to buy it when he was in high school and was like, yeah, we can work it on together on the weekends, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't work out. He had things like, when are we going to put AC in it and when are we going to paint it? Neither of which was on my list. I'm like, it needs so much stuff before those two things.
I know
so
that they
we
pick
unfortunately
these
had to sell it, but
questions
that
out
thing was a ton of
before
fun.
they
3
even
on the
start.
tree.
Like, he's not just randomly grabbing. Like, why would you pick that question?
Another gameplay, we already kind of went over this one, so we're just going to touch on it real fast. But will the user be able to DNF too? You mentioned
That's a
when you
good
open
question.
up, the start menu, you can DNF from there. But are you going to DNF if you get in a crash, or how does that whole thing work?
No, so no forced DNFs for the player. It will do it for the AI.
All right.
And again, that's back to priorities, right? Like, we put it in there. It's in there if you want to do it. A lot of it too is, if you look at what happens in the real world, like, yes, terminal damage sometimes forces their hand, and it is what it is. But a lot of times, take a damaged car, you take it back to the garage, they make a decision, is the time spent fixing it going to be worth the positions I might gain? Are there no more positions
What's
to
up,
gain?
Clable?
Or is our car just crap and we want to go and skip the traffic? Like, who knows? They can DNF for whatever they want. You think back to the old start and park teams, right? Like, those guys would run. They wouldn't have an extra set of tires, and they'd DNF and claim it on suspension or whatever. So I joke with somebody the other day. I see a lot of stuff about we want to sim races for the road courses that we don't want to drive in career,
Right.
which is funny to me for a bunch of reasons. But now it's like,
Thank you.
all right, you can't sim them, but you can at least hop in and immediately DNF. So there you go. You can skip.
Stick around for all my breakdown after this, guys.
Another online multiplayer question from Sniper Assassin 21. What are some of the safety violations added? I assume the blend line, but any others? Because we saw that in the trailer.
Look, I'm right.
Safety violations.
Yeah.
Everybody's been buzzing about this. What is it?
Yeah.
I'm right down here.
Can you tell us? Because the
Pick my
consensus is
question.
only the yellow line rule. It's just the blue cone.
Right at the bottom.
Yeah, it's actually got nothing to do with black flags or penalties or any of that. This is purely for online. There's a point-based system that's an accrual system for if you're basically being a menace.
That's disappointing.
And if you pass a certain threshold of being a menace, it'll toss you automatically. And so it's to help try to clean up the guys who are, laps down trying to wreck people or just generally try to help make a better experience. I still say the best way to do that is find some friends, hop in a league, do the passworded lobbies. Like, there's going to be a little bit of chaos in every public lobby. That's just part of the charm of public lobbies. But anyway, this is purely a feature around trying to solve some of that stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I know that was a big one. So the yellow line violation, that's not going to be a thing.
The what?
The yellow line. So at a super speedway, going below the yellow line, that's not
no
part of the safety violation. So I just want
that's not part of it. No.
Okay. Wonderful. Yeah. I love go-kart racing. If you could have one diecast, what would it be?
Another stupid question.
Oh. I have almost every.
Why are they picking these questions?
I think from
what's your favorite car? What's your favorite diecast? Like what
special all-star schemes, or the Winston as it was called back then. The only one, literally the only one I don't have is the Silver.
These are like 10-year-old kids that are asking these questions.
Easy answer for that one. Okay, so going back to what we were talking about, you're making NASCAR 26 from 25, and this is caveat to what I'm going to ask you, but the whole process of starting NASCAR 26. When did that happen? Whenever you started promoting NASCAR 25, how far were you already? Because I think some people don't understand how dev cycles work.
Yeah.
So I gotta believe that they handpicked the questions and they told Jeff,
right?
These are the questions we're gonna answer. So go one by one.
Constantly evolve. The answer is as soon as you can, right? And so
there's no way Jeff is picking these questions.
More locked down and or unable to be updated than others, right? And so you take the resources that are on those things that are kind of
these are the 5-year-old, the 10-year-olds that
whatever's next down the pipeline, and that's the way that we can afford to do all these incremental updates that take tons of resources and
forgot
tons
his
of time,
fucking
right?
name
Because
already.
the real answer is once you
remember
the
8-year-olds with hand controllers,
testing time and gold and getting approved and licensing approvals and all that stuff. What appears to a user to be a 12-month window quickly becomes
I wouldn't be surprised.
9-month window, and then depending on how things go, it could get shorter and shorter and shorter. And so that's a big part of it, is getting those guys moved over as soon as you can.
That's not good.
Okay, yeah, it was Polar 1225 that wanted to know what your favorite part of making NASCAR 26 has been so far.
Yeah, Dimitri. Fuck Dimitri.
I really like just kind of the end result, right? Like being able to show it off at the end and getting the feedback and knowing that we're listening and going in the right direction. That starts with people like you, but it's really just that. Like I enjoy the support that we get from the industry, the drivers that participate, all that stuff. And for me,
I agree, Clable.
The reward is kind of seeing that we're headed the right direction.
Yeah, and speaking on that, Blader Dragon Sonic was asking hardest feature to develop. So what was the most difficult for you to develop in 26?
Who cares?
Hardest
just
feature overall.
Get to what's in the
game. It's
going
to be a double-edged sword and get a bunch of
give us some detail.
But it's damage. Easily, it's damage.
I don't care. I mean,
there's a fundamental challenge where there's nothing in the world that looks like a damaged NASCAR vehicle, right? It doesn't matter if it's a truck, an ARCA car, a cup car. Cup cars are even
tell us if it's in the game, if it's not in the game.
And
get into the details of the things that are in the game.
A cup car from the old days, even tumbling down. I mean, I always remember the Rusty Wallace one for whatever reason when he was
giving
just
it a
tumbling down
chance,
straight away
at Daytona.
or Talladega.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole backstretch.
So, and this is, I want everybody to preface, this is my personal opinion. This is not an iRacing statement. This is Matt Lewis's personal opinion. When the bar is that, right? That's what people
what's
expect
your favorite color?
for it to look like when you really say like, hey, we're going to make damage better. The reality is it's going to be very, very, very difficult, if not impossible, to get that to that level. So then it's a question of, okay, if you can't get there in a video game to that level, where can you get and what is enough for fans to be happy about it, right? If I did nothing for 2 years and all we did was work on damage, we might get reasonably close to where you could actually count it as a big bullet and say, hey, we actually improved damage. But the reality is,
personally,
we're constantly doing things.
I'm
behind
not
the
broken
scenes.
up
We're
over the
constantly
damage
making it
model. I'm not.
better. It's just,
I
it's
do
really
kind of
hard to
agree
take
with
that
what he's saying, but
actual
like,
step and say, hey,
let's get
we're
to
really
the,
going to
the
focus
good
on it
stuff.
until we
Whatever's
get
in
further
the
down
game
road
that you
and we
actually
can
implemented.
put more resources against it. Like
Give
I
us
said,
some
where there
detail on that.
where there aren't other super high priorities going on.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they expect soft body physics like you see in BMG, and they don't realize how hard that is.
Forget
to
about
achieve.
those
How
people.
much that has to work to make that happen. Now, that's just 1 or 2 cars or a few AI cars that you can plop down and beam. But when you have a field of 40 plus cars wrecking each other all at once, it has to calculate all that.
I don't think I've heard
on a
more than
console,
2
that's
questions that were
12,
actually relevant
Yeah,
to,
and
to,
I
the,
mean,
to the game.
That's the thing that most people don't factor in.
Or
right? Is
something
like
we haven't already heard
really
about.
good looking damage is going to affect graphics at the end of the day. It just is. There's 40 cars in the field. A lot of these other
it's
racing games
difficult.
that focus
Let's
on
move on
damage
from
have
that.
12 cars in the field, 20 maybe. We have 40.
Yeah, we gotta
right?
check
and so
if
if you
these-
start getting into a
all of these
situation where
questions
all
are
40 cars are
legitimately
individually
from
damaged
actual
to different
people.
levels and unique, everything's 100% unique. It
I mean, I'm
just
kind
gets
of
so
joking,
labor-intensive.
but
And to your point,
I don't know.
these consoles, they are what they are, right? It's not like a gaming PC where you can just tweak the settings to up or down depending on the, graphics card that you have and things like that. Like, it has to
Just so you
work
guys
on the
know,
consoles.
I
And
asked
so
them about the AI
Anyway, we're going way off
the
topic,
AI
but that's an
behavior
easy question to what is the
and
hardest one.
the pit logic.
Yes. All right,
And
so now
also
I
the
do wanna
players'
pivot and
pit
talk about
stop
career mode.
times,
I know,
right?
I know people want to know career mode. I know you.
I haven't heard
ready
of
for it, but
anything
the
yet
biggest one
that's
is,
more
from
important than
Maya
that,
here,
in my opinion.
with some colons and stuff. Many people that play the career mode are hoping for more team inclusion. Maybe being able to start our own team, hire drivers, or join other teams. We can even fit in silly season into this whole thing, so you can just go ahead and just tell us what's going on with career mode, because a lot of people said, "Oh, I saw the trailer. They didn't say anything about career mode. It's going to be the exact same thing as the last game."
Yeah.
This
So
this is good right here.
silly season. Let me just talk about silly season here for a second. So, in NASCAR, there are a ton of entities involved, right? And so you've got drivers, you've got sponsors, you got teams, you have OEMs, and you have, in some cases, lifetime contracts with either sponsors or OEMs. Some of the OEMs have their own driver development programs where they've taken a kid from literally 10 or 12 years old in a go-kart and funded him his entire life. And there's an expectation that he stays with a given manufacturer. And
I respect that.
Those things weren't as prominent 30 years ago, 25 years ago, back when we were doing the EA games, but they still exist in some level back then, but it wasn't as it wasn't a walled garden as much as it is today. And so that's not to say we're not going to get there. Again, this is another personal one for me where I think silly season.
He already said
rumor mill stuff.
There's no silly season this year.
All of that, X-Driver is
think it's
retiring
important, and they're
there's a
working
shot
on
to
it
take
for
over
the
his ride
future.
and all those things.
We got it.
That goes back to what I said earlier, where it's all about the emotion and the immersion of career mode. And so we want to get there. We will get there. We've had some meaningful conversations this season, actually, with the NASCAR teams and NASCAR themselves, and everybody's on board. It's just, again, we've got to come up with the right design and start working on it over time so that we can ultimately get there. The big thing I always tell people is I think it's kind of a mixed bag in some people's favorites of whether it was like 05 or 06 or whatever, but all those career mode ones, it's the fifth or sixth iteration of that NASCAR game when they finally got sort of the pinnacle of what the career mode was supposed to be. And so
get ready, guys. It's going to be 2028 before we see this stuff.
The maybe being able to start our own.
I'm just kidding, but I mean,
or to join others.
This is what they're making it sound like. Like you got a long wait.
Yeah. So to me, all that's related. There's ultimately what we want is you to have a path, and if you don't want to focus on the hiring people and being the quote unquote owner, and you just want to drive and you want to go contract to contract, that should be a long-term option for us as well.
All right, moving on to a gameplay question from Normal Player 737. Is there going to be split screen for 26? If not, what was the reasoning for not including this feature? And it wasn't in 25 either.
It wasn't. And I don't want this to sound like we're making excuses or whatever, but this is less a NASCAR problem and more a racing game where the market is shifted in general problem. Again, I'm a dad. I love sitting on the couch playing with my kids back in the day as well, but it comes down to graphics and where we are in terms of rendering, right? When you have a racing game with 40 cars on the track and all that stuff, you already have a difficult time rendering and making things look good. Then when you do it twice on the same screen, plus you do it a third and a fourth time for both rear view mirrors, a fifth and a sixth time for the smaller mirrors that are on the side panels of the cars, it gets really, really expensive computationally to render.
I still
and then
think
you only have two choices at that point. You
I
can
don't
make
even
it look
care about
worse.
split
You
screen.
can turn things off, or you can kind of just turn the quality down overall on the game. And so I don't want to say, I would never say never, but it is another one of those things where to do it right and to do it in the way that iRacing would want to do it, it requires a massive undertaking of optimization in the graphics engine to get it back.
All right. Well, there you go. Chris M. Hansen wanted to know what's one new feature for NASCAR 26 that fans should be excited for? Like which one that we haven't talked about yet?
Peak performance, I think, is going to be interesting. So there's a side door feature actually in peak performance that I think is going to be really useful, especially even to guys that have played the game for a while. And that is, as it evaluates you, like the training mode is going to obviously be helpful to new players. But even the guys who have been around a while, it suggests an AI difficulty. And so as part of your rating and part of the stuff as you go through it, at the very end, it'll kind of say, 98 or 96 or whatever, and give you that range so that as you're playing, especially in career mode and things like that, you kind of have a baseline. One of the things where I think we've always had a struggle is the first question the game asks you literally on cold boot when you buy it is it comes up with like, I don't even remember how many there are, six-ish options of like, what skill level do you want to race on? And it's like, especially if you're new, you're like, I have no idea what to put it on. And so again, it's this notion of it takes a while to go in and run some practice laps and mess with some settings and figure out where you want to be. But peak performance will help you get there faster.
I'm actually interested in that peak performance thing.
They
have a few interesting things.
Will we have the ability to manually drive the pace laps, caution laps, pit lane to and from the garage during practice, cool down?
No.
So we can have any of the manual driving.
Anybody even asking that is not paying attention. That's not going to happen.
That's the simple answer.
And it's
yeah.
I don't think it's that important.
I mean, I think some of these things could make their way in the long term, right? Like I think driving in and out of real garage stalls is interesting and cool. I think being able to obviously pick your pit stall like they do in real life would be cool down the road. But I think the driving under caution in particular to me is a sim feature, right? And that's not necessarily what this game is aimed at. Again, I never say
I'm right
never,
here,
right?
guys.
Like maybe this is a thing
right
we
over
do
here.
years down the road. When like I said, all the other things have been crossed off. But to me, this is another prioritization one, right?
Right. No, I know what you're talking about there. I mean, that's one of those dead horse things that you've been asking for a long time.
Every year we answer it.
Yep. Which is good because they're keeping you honest. They're like, okay, are you going to do it this year? And you're like, no, maybe. We don't know. But and there's people that say, be careful what you wish for there, because I've done iRacing and I've paced around
I agree.
Talladega with only 5
I agree.
green flag laps before.
I don't think it's going to be a great
This
addition.
one from Goin, asking what AI improvements will be in the game, pit logic, and the lack of variety in running order were major issues in NASCAR 25. So basically all that pit logic, the way that you would sit on pit road for a long time waiting for the next car and how that all worked. But what improvements have you made in the AI when it comes to pit logic?
Did we actually allow Gary to ask a question? Was that allowed through the
Gary? Yeah, that's going
that was
on
through the filter?
That is Gary.
I don't know. I don't know who that guy
Oh, you
is.
admit there's a filter. That's the
right,
question
this one
I
opens
have.
up a lot. I'm just messing with you, Garrett. Where is he? There he is. He's laughing at me. All right. Yeah. So first and foremost, we've talked about this notion of constant improvement, right? Making it better every year. There's just some baseline things in here that, like, yeah, we're gonna look at and make them better. Pitting logic, them getting on and off a pit road better than you. That was a big one last year. We fixed the getting off, I think, at least a little bit in some of the patches. The getting on was still pretty difficult to get on pit road better than they can. So that's been addressed. There are 2 fixes for driver ratings that I know Gary will be happy about. One is there was just a general variance overall. It just wasn't wide enough.
So Wallace and Butterbean Queen aren't going to be winning every single ARCA race that I race?
Correct. So it's a wider.
Come on, Jeff.
There's more variance just
I'm
overall.
here.
But in addition, we added another slider. So if you still don't like the changes that we made, or it's still not variable enough, you can now take a slider and make it less or more. So you can kind of get it back to where it was last year-ish if you want, or you can take it way down. Our new fix is kind of in the middle, if you imagine it that way, and you can kind of go back to last year if you want, or you can go equally the other way, if that makes sense.
I know
that's
there's a lot of
confusing.
tools in that box when it comes to the sliders, and a lot of people don't really understand them all, and that's something that I do want to I'll go into later on down the road before 26 does hit the shelf. But the biggest thing is
That's weird. That was weird.
What are we doing differently, with the pit? With the AI logic, especially long term. So like if you're in a long green flag run, the difficulties of the AI not passing you and all that, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a dead horse thing.
So it is and it isn't, right? Like you and I have had this discussion ad nauseum, and I think you are.
I agree. It's not.
In the
it doesn't
smaller
sound
group
bad, but
that has taken the time to really go in there and understand all of those sliders. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I've even had this conversation directly with Gary as well. Like, I feel like if you spend the time and if you go in there and you really put some effort into it, you can get it to where it's. Is it going to be perfect? No. Like it's a very complicated system, and the real answer is twofold.
All right, thank
One, some players want to go in and win, right? They want to go into career mode. They don't want to do the finish 30th.
I thought the slider was more about your
top 10.
when
They
you
just
pit,
set up their
like
game where they go in and they dominate.
Your pit times,
and we have to give them an experience.
That's a
that
separate
works for
thing.
that. And then there's other guys that want to claw their butts off to get the 30th, and it needs to work for that as well. And so again, back to my list of like, there's 32 tracks and 4 series and tuning all these things and all that stuff. It's like doing all that and getting every single ounce of strategy stuff correct. I don't know if a lot of people even know this in the real world, but it used to be back in the day, and I'm talking about, early 2000s, late 90s, whatever. you had the pit crew, you had, the guys on the box, and they were making the calls in real time, and that was the end of it, right? Now, yes, they've limited how many people go to the track to make those decisions, but there's a whole army of engineers that are sitting in a room at Penske and Hendrick and 2311 and all. I've seen them. I've seen these rooms. They look like the rooms where you launch the space shuttle from, right? They've got
command centers.
SMT data coming in. They've got all the broadcast cameras coming in. They've got all the pit information. They've got information from the spotters. They've got all the radio traffic. And so what appears even in real life to be a simple decision of like flipping a stage or some of these things that they come up with, that's the product of 10, 15 really smart people that are smarter than you and I combined, coming up with that stuff and figuring that out. So that's a long way to say, like, the logic on its own isn't always enough, right? There's going to be things that we even have to evolve over time as the real engineers figure it out, and we kind of look at it and go back and look at it in the game. So a lot of work the short answer is a lot of work has been done. There's still more work to do, but I think there's enough in there for this year that we're making the right progress in the right areas.
Beautiful. This is
That's
a
pretty vague.
question by Sniper Assassin 21. How will the dynamic track work? Is it just set to change based on the amount of laps ran? Will it
That's a good
quicker
question.
with higher wear or lower races? And I think a lot of people want to know that when it comes to the dynamic tracks, because in the dev diary they said that, well, it's going to be from medium to long length races. So how is it going to work? Some people think it's going to be copy pasted from this session to session to session.
We said medium to longer because we weren't sure at the time exactly what number. So it's 13% and up for sure. That's when it will work. We feel like, again, we kind of went across the board in every series and looked at, 13, even 13 in some of the series gets really short. And so it's pretty drastic and dramatic in those races, but I feel like it's a good starting point. So that's the first question is it's 13% and up, but the way it works is really, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it generally takes it from a single groove racetrack to a multi-groove racetrack. And it's the full length of the entire weekend. So when you come in lap 1 of practice, that's when it's the greenest. There's sort of one lane of grip if you can find it. Very difficult, more difficult to drive, certainly. And over time, those other lanes will open up, and that includes moving into qualifying and moving into the race. But it's truly lap 1 of practice all the way through the checkered flag of the race. It constantly adapts and changes.
All right, wonderful. Yeah, because I know that sometimes in NASCAR 25, the top lane became so dominant on long runs.
Yeah.
So having dynamic tracks will change that up based on where people are running.
Yeah.
That's actually good.
All right, another one there for physics. I'm going to move on. We're going to have to rapid fire some more here. When can we see the rosters for each series? That's what Jacob Lawson wanted to know.
The driver rosters. Soon. I don't have an exact date, but in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Dale, a junior fan freak with does dynamic lighting. So let's talk about the dynamic lighting really quick here. Does it feature real-time sunsets or lighting conditions only change between stages like last year's game? So let's put it in layman's terms, is there going to be day to night transitions in the game?
So the time of day still only passes from session to session. So you're not going to have a
Answer's no.
particular session go from dusk into sunset into night. But what is different is dynamic lighting within those sessions. So it's really, as you said earlier, I think we already covered this, but the clouds, the sun going in and out of the clouds.
All right, no day to night.
That aspect of it getting brighter or darker
It's
based
not.
on where
That's not
the sun
game
is
breaking
in
to
the
me,
sky
but
within those sessions.
All right. Well, that's one that I know a lot of people wanted to know about. And let's move on to Blash 2025. How does the new tire model work? Does it simulate heat, wear, changing grip, flat spots, or pressure changes differently than NASCAR 25? So what's the difference between NASCAR 25's tire model?
It ain't gonna do all that. I think people.
Yeah, so we covered this one kind of briefly, but it's mainly about braking and the edge of grip. And we're going to go over this a lot more in a dive diary coming up. But that's the predominance of it, is really just getting to a point where we can have you feel when you're on the edge, especially under heavy brake load. The feedback that we got sort of universally was that it was too easy. If you got in trouble, if you were late going into the bus stop or late going into the hard left in front of the aircraft carrier at San Diego or whatever, you could just mash the gas and kind of save yourself and keep cruising like there was no issue. So that's the main thing that we tried to fix is again, when your assists are off and you're playing sort of the more hardcore experience, that will not happen. You will now slide the brakes.
And that is a big change for sure. This one is a career mode question from New York Fan Alpha. What changes / additions are coming specifically to career mode in NASCAR 26? So what are the changes between career mode we saw in 25 to 26?
So again, I'll sort of generalize this one, but last year it was all about hiring and your work points, and it was really a staff and car loop that had a sort of short-term element, and you were, as soon as you finished one race, you're just kind of immediately prepping for the next race, and you're in this sort of small loop. Now you're going to have to balance that with what we're calling facility upgrades. And so you constantly have to think, do I use all of this money to do the short-term loop stuff that's going to immediately make the car faster? Or do I invest in the facility upgrades that will help me longer term and help me be better 3 or 4 or 5 races down the road, as opposed to only narrowly focusing on things? I finished XYZ race. What's next? What's right ahead of
not terrible,
my face?
but
and so
yeah,
it changes the loop pretty dynamically to have to make that short-term versus longer-term decision. There's some other things that are more ancillary. We added door bumper clear. There's a peak performance element
do a
to
quick synopsis
career as well, where you'll have these challenges that pop up that are teaching you as you progress into a new vehicle, how that vehicle differs from the previous vehicle you were driving. Maybe some things about, going to a track for the first time and what to watch out for. More like anecdotal story type stuff. But there's an influencer that we partner with that we typically give the first look at career mode. I don't know if you know the guy. His name's Jeff something.
Yeah.
If he's willing, we will certainly do that again before launch and have you kind of take a crack at that first look here, because we're excited about it.
All right, fantastic. And I actually have a question that I was intrigued about with the trailer. Hopefully, I can ask one question, but I wanted to know what was going on with the involved in caution screen, because I know there's
that's a good question.
Everybody's like caution replays versus this versus. But involved in caution, to me in my head, when I saw that, I was like, oh, like you see on TV, like who was involved in the wreck.
Yep, that's it. It's purely there to try to ease the pain that there's no caution replays yet. That's another one, longstanding. We know it. We know we need to get it. It will come. It's just, again, brutally difficult. You have to save all sorts of extra states during the race. I won't say it's free, but it's kind of tied to mid-race saves. You have to do a very similar amount of technical things to have mid-race saves as you would with a caution replay. So typically in history, when you get one, you get the other at the same time kind of deal. So, but you're right. It shows you sort of a TV broadcast style overlay that shows who was involved.
There you go. Last
better than
question
nothing.
We're going to take for this AMA. Darth Cavino, have any of the drivers tested the game out, and what do they think about it so far?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it's been awesome to see just how passionate that entire community is. Willie was big last year for us. Larson has been equally involved. We're actually making making an effort right now to get him a build that he can show his kids, and get us some feedback from Larson himself. Majeski's been a lot. Alfredo's been a lot. Brad Perez. Hosabar texted me the other day. He's going to, I'm sure, do his Twitch thing and be crazy on Twitch like he always does. But just, yeah, the whole industry has been super supportive, and that's been really cool. It goes back to what you were asking about what my favorite parts are. Last year,
I agree, Volts.
LeVar Scott he was a development driver in the Rev team, I think, but it was like him and 3 other guys, and I took them the game for an early access look, and it was really cool because it was the first time they saw themselves, all 3 of them that were there. It was the first time they ever saw themselves in a video game. And that was pretty damn awesome to see them get excited and like have this full circle thing of like them remembering a lot of the old games and then seeing themselves and playing this themselves in a video game for the first time. It was awesome.
Well, there you have it. I mean, it comes full circle. I can't believe it's already been a year since the last one, but the changes that are coming are going to be things that you said at the beginning with NASCAR 25. We have a foundation, but now you take all this feedback that you got for a year and even up until this moment. You're getting constant feedback on what they would like to see in the game and all this stuff, and then you make all the decisions on that, ever evolving into NASCAR 27, 28, because you said, we're here to stay. We're not here to just go, boom, we're out of here. We're here to stay. We're listening to what you guys want. We want to build a game that I know personally in your head, your ambition on these games are insane compared to what you actually can do each year. And I know it's tough for you whenever we have conversations about that. You're like, man, I just wish we could do this. I wish we could do this. But it's just, it's how it works.
Yeah, I wish I had a magic wand and could just do it all at once. But listen, I think the game is amazing. It drives great. The brake changes are amazing. I just think all of these things are going to continue to add up to a great experience for the fans and get them where they ultimately want to be. And we're excited about cross-platform. We're excited about Dynamic Track. Dynamic Track is one of the most requested things in terms of like the sim crowd versus the console crowd, right? That notion, as soon as iRacing was discussed as kind of bringing this on and taking this on and doing the console game, that was what everybody wanted was, hey, let's get the dynamic track stuff that happens in the sim over to the console side. And we are super excited to be able to do that this year. So good things.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Matt, for joining us, and thank you to everybody in the audience that tuned in here to listen in to us waffle on about NASCAR 26. We do appreciate it, and thank you for your questions. I know we can't get to everybody, but we did what we could do. But outside of that, I want to thank you all. This concludes.
You didn't mention me, so you failed on that.
Thank you once again. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, man. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you doing this.
I'm just joking, guys, but
Not a problem. Take care, everybody.
Okay, guys.
Bye.
All right. So I'm gonna give you my thoughts now on what we saw. That was an hour, so I'm gonna just come out with it. I don't feel like this was good marketing wise, right? That has nothing to do with the game itself, but it was an hour. You could have easily cut this by half. There was a lot of filler questions that really weren't all that important. It does feel filtered and cherry picked, right? I'm not going to say it is because I don't know, but that's the feel people get from that. When you're reading off questions that really have no bearing on the game, things people don't really care about, it feels like you're just wasting time. You're filling up space. I'd rather have a much shorter Q&A. Just get to the important stuff. What's in the game? What did you work on? What improvements have you made? And also, what's not in the game? If people ask questions like, things like no DNF for the player, like they got to that quick. They could have managed this better. I hate saying that because I really do think that these guys want to make the best possible game. Here we fucking go. This better not be for me. Okay, it's not for me. Let me let my wife get that. Okay. So, what was I saying? Yeah. Just, you got to get to the nitty gritty, man. People have waited all week for this or whatever. And then it just feels like you're less excited after watching it. And it's not because the game may not be a good game. It's just not a good way to promote it. You really got to get to the point of what you want to talk about and the things you know that people want to know. Even if it's like not what people want to hear, they like if they wanted to know if like whatchamacallit, silly season, right? It's not in the game, right? And it is something that's important to them. And they said down the line they want to make sure that at some point they make that it makes its way into the game. Just tell us, right? Get to that, and then we can accept it. You gave us a reason why it's not ready, and that you are working on it for the future. That's what you need to be. Rapid fire. Be direct. Don't circle around with a lot of word salad. Get to it. It's in the game, or it's not in the game, or if it's kind of in the game, whatever it is, get to it. Describe what it is or what's not in the game. Explain really quick why it's not ready. People will understand if you are direct. And the longer you drag out these answers and then you start drifting off into other things, it's like nobody cares, right? We just want to know what's in the game. And in all honesty, I really do think, right? Forget about this Q&A session. Before watching this, like, we kind of know what's in the game. If everything you listed that works in the game actually makes a tangible difference, it's going to be an improvement over the last year's game. There isn't anything mind-blowing. However, there's enough good things that was listed originally that people can walk away and say, you know what? I really do think when you look at it, it's just 1 year of development from 1 year to the next. People will accept that, and they can say, well, you know what? This is realistic. I can accept this, and I can still look forward to this game. There should be enough there that you can feel a difference, right? But when you watch this Q&A and it's a bunch of fluff and here and there, and it's just a lot of you spent an hour, and out of it there may have been 4 or 5 things that you walk away with and say, okay, that sounded good. It just, to me, hurts the marketing, right? It's better to be quick, direct, and get to the things you know people want to know about, right? Even if it's not a positive. If you have to tell people, hey, silly season is not in the game yet, but we do have that pinned up on our to-do list down the line. We only had 1 year, right? These are yearly releases. You're going to have to bear with us, right? But we do think we added enough things that you should be excited about this game. It's not going to feel like exactly like last year's game. That's how you gotta be more aggressive and direct. And this didn't come off that way. Now, to me, this is more of a marketing issue than it is a game issue. It just bothers me because you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I know I'm being nitpicky, but everybody's being nitpicky. And you could help yourself by being direct. So that's my overall analysis of this. It just, I don't think anyone's going to walk away feeling like they got anything worthwhile, right? And the game is only a month away. It wasn't well put together, and it's just, I don't know, man. That's just my thought. Again, I want to emphasize, the game itself, I am still excited to play it and see it. There are some good things. I'm going to go through some of this stuff right now, but you're going to notice most of this stuff we already know about. We did, so it just feels like this whole Q&A thing was unnecessary. You know, from this point forward, I'm just a friendly suggestion, right? I mean, I'm not a marketing expert, but as a consumer, I just want to see, show us the nitty gritty of what's there, of what's new. What did you work on? What are we going to see that's different? Focus on that. And even if it doesn't feel like a lot, it's much better. A lot of people are going to walk away feeling like this was a waste of time. So the first thing, and this is again a confirmation of what we already knew. However, there is a small caveat, which is new information. So we already know crossplay is a part of the game. But what I didn't know, at least I didn't know until he cleared it up, was crossplay is not only a thing, but all 3 platforms are available day one. So if you remember the first game, the PC version didn't come out right away. If you were on PC, you had to wait. So now it's all there day one. You're going to have a much bigger pool of people to race against online. I do think that is one of the bigger things they added to the game. You know, you can focus on saying this should have been there from day one, but I don't care about that, right? What I care about is now. What are you doing now? And it's here, right? And it's available day one. There isn't going to be like, oh, but PC guys have to wait. So that's a positive thing, right? Then DNFs, right? So we already know that AIs will DNF. But what we kind of wanted to know, and it is kind of, I wouldn't say, I mean, it is kind of bad news, but at least we know the player will not DNF. So it only affects the AI. That's going to bother some people. I do wish that it was there for the player as well, but it's not game breaking for me at the moment. But at least we have DNFs for players. I mean, for the AI, right? So it's another dynamic that's added to the whole, career mode or just racing the AI. So that's a positive and a negative, kind of, right? But you know what? We should have known that the player was not going to DNF, or they would have said it, before. But now we know, right? There's no more wondering. And like I said before, get to the point. And people will accept some negative news, right? Because we know, deep inside, we know we're not going to get all these things we wanted. Like silly season, I'm not surprised. I did not expect to get that this year. We didn't get it, but they know we want it. He made it clear that it's in the works for the future, right? It's not what we want to hear, but it's the reality. These games, their yearly sports titles are very difficult to add a lot to because it's all you have is 1 year. This is why every sports game, even the best ones, they feel almost the same every year because there's only so much you can do to make a game feel fresh. So it's a difficult job. I do sympathize with these guys. And believe it or not, right, in spite of all this, in spite of the things I'm saying, I do think these are the right guys for the job. You're just going to have to take your lumps as you go, right? I have a feeling, and this is just a feeling, this is not confirmed by anyone. I do think that they might be a little bit miffed with me for some reason. The criticisms I've had, I still hope they understand I'm rooting for them. I still think they're the right guys. But I just call it like I see it, right? And I'm trying to be realistic at the same time. I can complain about things, but I can also say, like, realistically, like I'm telling you right now, expecting much more than what they've listed so far in 1 year, from year to year, it's not going to happen. Okay? It's just not going to happen. So what I have to ask myself, and what you should ask yourself is, are they adding enough to make this worthwhile? Okay? And so far, I still feel good about the game, but I think they hurt themselves with this marketing. Like, I just my 2 cents, man. Please take my advice. Keep it short, keep it to the point, and you know what people want to know about. We don't care about your favorite car. We don't care about your favorite diecast. We don't care about, you know, how hard it is to do things. Like, we know this stuff is not easy. Just get to the things. Yes, this is not in the game. We're working on this. This is on our to-do list. This is something we don't feel is it's worth our time at the moment. Be direct. People will appreciate that. Even when they get mad, right? That's my little 2 cents. So, crossplay, all 3 platforms are available day one. That's a good thing. No DNFs for the player, but DNFs for AI. There's an AI slider they mentioned. It's a variable thing. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Because they were talking about the AI pit strategy, I don't feel like they really delved into that. And it doesn't sound good to me because they didn't, like, either tell us you fixed it or you worked on it, or just because then he said, well, we kind of made tweaks to it, to the current game, right? NASCAR 25. And in all honesty, I don't notice a big difference. And it doesn't make me feel positive to hear that, well, we've already kind of tweaked it, and maybe, we tweaked a little more here and there. It's like, did you or did you not work on this? This is, to me, one of the most on the top of my list, is the AI, how they race, the behavior, the pit strategy is probably the biggest issue, right? Because that can make or break your game, right? It'll ruin your whole race. And then the players' pit times are horrendous, right? You got to fix this stuff. And I don't feel like there was a lot of positive energy saying, we know that was an issue for you guys. We worked hard on it, and we think that you're going to notice a much more improved AI experience when it comes to those things. I don't feel like I heard that. I did hear something about an AI slider and that they kind of worked on the NASCAR 25 through some patches. It's like, I'm not really, I don't know, man. I'm not, like, how am I supposed to, I don't even know what to feel about that. So I don't know. Dynamic track changes. Again, something we already knew about coming in to this Q&A, right? So did they add anything to it? Well, they kind of confirmed that. Somebody did ask a good question, that the track changes are the entire weekend. So from the time you first, practice, happy hour, whatever you want to call it, up until race day to the very end of the race, the track will change dynamically, and you're going to be running different lines because, and to me, it's quite possibly the biggest change that I've heard so far. If it works as intended, I do look forward to seeing that, because it will affect your racing, and you should not be able to run the same line, the same corner, the same, hit you the same exact marks lap after lap for an entire race, and there's no difference. It should change. Something that was working for you early in the race maybe shouldn't work for you later in the race. Maybe you got to search a different line, take a different, angle into the corner. Maybe you have to diamond the corner more or less, right? Depending, right? And just watching the track get darker in certain areas, and then having to make those adjustments, having to change your lines, right? And seeing maybe if it affects the AI as well. That, to me, is the biggest question. And if they succeeded in doing something good with that, that to me alone can make the biggest difference in this next game. But again, we have to see it, right? We don't know if how good of a job they did with it. Caution incident screen, right? So now they confirmed It's not a caution replay thing. I kind of knew that. And if there was caution replays, they would have told us, right? If they didn't tell us something's in the game that they know people want, it's not in the game. So just to me, that's the fallback, right? So if there's something that you have in your mind as a question and they didn't confirm it's in the game, it's not in the game. That's I'm telling you, they would have told us, right? Because they listed everything. They listed, 750 horsepower packet, like things that you shouldn't have to list as a feature. So the caution incident screen is basically, he said, it's kind of like a TV presentation thing where it kind of just shows you who was involved in a caution. It's nothing more than that. That being said, I do appreciate that, and I do think every little thing counts. It matters. And if you add enough of these small details and they work as they should, that's going to make a difference, right? So like I said, there's nothing about this game that you're going to see that to me is going to blow you away, right? Also, they talked about graphics. The graphics do look better from the little bit we've seen. There's a lot of positives, but they did a bad job today of getting to those positives and getting into detail. And then also the things that might disappoint people, you have to address it and move along. And it just feels like they kind of lingered on a lot of like what the game isn't, what it's not going to do. That's not good marketing. So again, I really hope that these guys haven't written me off as somebody that maybe they respect. Um, as always, I'm just telling you my honest opinion, right? And I could be wrong about some of these things, but um, I'm giving them the best advice I can think of, and I just feel like honesty is always the best policy. And I'm not saying they're being dishonest, but it's the way they went about everything. It just feels like, okay, they're kind of dodging some stuff. They know we want to know about this. Other things they spent too much time talking about that nobody cares about. And why you would even read some of these questions is beyond me. Like, um, I'm sure Jeff is in a tough spot. I'm sure that they probably picked those questions out. Like they didn't. I don't think they let him do that on his own. I could be wrong, but again, I'm not really shitting all over these guys. This isn't easy. I'm just saying this is what people are walking away with. So I feel like the game is probably much better than the marketing. The marketing is just, I don't know, man. I don't know anyone that's gonna walk away from this Q&A today and feel like, oh my god, I'm so pumped up now. It's like they did more harm than good. They can fix that. There's still a month away from the game. We still haven't seen, another, any footage or gameplay. They still have time to do something that kind of brings this back up, right? Because I don't think this is going to be a bad game. I really don't. It's going to have issues here and there, but I do think looking at 1 year of development, again, I want to emphasize that realistically, you can't expect much more than what they're trying to do, like this. It's another reason why I really was hoping they would take an approach that was not this yearly release business model. But again, this is a business. It's not realistic for me to think that they're just going to wait 2 years to release the next game. It is what it is, right? But those are my thoughts on that. Let me read a few comments. Thomas says, agreed, just the facts. AI still randomly spins out in scripted rec. Yeah, I don't know. They didn't really mention that. Folt says, first game is a foundation. You say a year is not much time, but we get stuff people didn't ask for, and we don't get stuff we know they know we want. I agree. It's not so much the time as it is priorities. Like that's also a problem. People keep asking about fucking split screen, and that shit bothers me because I'm sorry, I know some of you are gonna disagree, but split screen is a fucking outdated feature. Like that's my opinion, and you could say I'm wrong. If you want these guys, and he did explain it, and it makes sense. They have to put twice the resources on the same screen. If you do split screen racing, it's not just 40 cars, it's 80. It's like more mirrors that reflect, like, it's just a lot of shit that goes in there that is above my head, but I understand. Yeah, no spectator mode. Yeah, like, we want that. They did say they plan on sometime in the future doing that, and it sucks it's not in there now, but at least they did say it, right? So we need more of that. Like, just get to the point and move on and get to the good stuff. So yeah. Let's see. Viper. AI wrecking the same way each time. Biggest issue. Yeah, I hope they really did something about that, but I wouldn't expect to see a lot of different things. It's just, I think you're just going to see the caution, and then you're going to see that, in who's involved in the incident. All right, let's see. Dirt Game says, for me personally, it's no longer about what they're adding. I think dynamic track training mode, that's also a thing I'm looking forward to. I'm just curious about that. AI sliders are great. Being dishonest about your motivations for omitting things isn't. Yeah, that's the thing, the picture people walk away with is like, it just feels like fluff, like you're just avoiding certain things. It's like, man, get to the point. This could have been it could have been half an hour instead of an hour. Get rid of all the fluff, and it would have came across better. Intimidator, welcome. Watch what y'all say, because NASCAR is hammering everybody down. They're reporting people. AI is, and they are actually shutting down your freedom of speech. Dictatorship. He showed up in Japan. PS5. Hey, turn your sound up, man. We don't understand what you're saying. All I got to say. Oh, sorry about that. I wish somebody would have told me that sooner. I hope. Let me know if you guys can hear me now, or is it just a thing when the video's on and I'm talking? That might be it. I appreciate it. I'll try to do a better job with that next time. I agree, man. I there's a lot of AI bullshit. AI is not here to help you. Like, everyone needs to understand that AI is not your friend. AI is here to control you. It's here to destroy free speech, and it's here to control people with manipulation and bullshit. So always keep that in mind. Don't fall in love with AI, bro. AI was not created to help you. What's up, Playboy Jose? Are you as underwhelmed after what? Yeah, a bit. I feel like they did a bad job. Matt spent way too long trying to justify something wasn't in the game, instead of just being like, don't worry, guys, we're working on it, and then moving on. That's my point. Like, just be honest with people. It's like a Band-Aid. Rip it off and move on. Like, when you spend too much time on not kind of answering, but kind of like going the long way around, it's never good. Why no spectator mode? Yeah, I guess, I don't know, man. It's technical difficulties, whatever. They did say they want to add it. What's up, Bobby Birch? C Boyette, is this copy and paste? I don't look. Again, all of these sports games do have a copy paste feel to them, but in all honesty, if you add enough of these little details and features, it can all add up, but it depends on how much of these things they listed actually work as intended, right? We have to play it and see it before we judge it, but like I said, there's nothing here that's going to blow you away and say, now I got to buy this game. But I do think there's enough things listed that should get your interest. But if you feel like it's not enough, I'm not going to argue that. Like, I can't tell somebody, yeah, you're wrong. Clable says, agree about split screen. A lot of people want split screen so they can play with their friends and family at home. If we want to keep young fans, then split screen mode is a need. Yeah, I just feel like it's outdated. Like, I'm telling you, bro, it's the resources they would have to put in to get that to work. and function, that's one less thing that you're gonna get somewhere else. And I just feel like there's still too many things they need to, like, I want to see a deeper career mode. I want to see more presentation. I want to see a whatchamacallit, silly season. Like you know, there's a lot of other things that are way more important. Like once you add all that, if down the line it's like, oh look, we added split screen. I don't have anything against it, but not right now. Like it's just to me not important. All right, thank you about the sound. I think when a video's playing and I'm talking over it, I think that's the issue. So I'm gonna try better to do a better job with that at least. Bro, the game is looking mid. It's kind of sad. I can't argue with somebody who feels that way. I really can't. I have a realistic expectation. I kind of, like I said, this is 1 year later. I was not expecting anything revolutionary, but there are some things I feel like it's going to make it better if it works, right? That's the caveat. We got to keep that in mind. And, I don't see realistically how any developer is going to be able to do much more than this in 1 year. That's the reality. And this is one of the things I hate about these yearly release sports games. If they ever break away from that and just decide, you know what, we don't have to release a new game every year. Let's do every other year. And then the years that we don't release a new game, we just do a DLC, update with the updated rosters, paint schemes, and some quality of life fixes. And then then the next year you get the next game, and now you have 2 years to work on a game, and you can do a lot more. That's good for the consumer, but business wise, that's money they're leaving on the table. That's the fucking reality of it. I hate it. All right, let's see. Time to project. Said it for years. If they didn't invest resources into down the door bumper clear and irrelevant things, we could get things they know we want. It's a priority thing. Intimidator says, "Stay sad." All right. Bobby Birch says Matt was giving nothing burgers and clearly was dodging about career. That's why I said this marketing is not, it's just not good, because it does come across like it's a lot of fluff and nothing and word salad, and they could have really cut to the chase, and it would have been half as long, and people would at least walk away with a more definitive view of the game and not be so like focused on all the fluff and nothing. Like it just, they could do a much better job. Let's see, Clable. I feel like the time they spent into the testing mode could have went into improving already established modes, also known as career mode. I agree. Why are we focusing on a new mode that everyone will only touch once instead of something like career mode? I agree. For me, career mode is always the most important part of a sports game. I don't know. Boyette says, I'm not pre-ordering, and no one should ever pre-order. Something? I haven't pre-ordered Grand Theft Auto 6. And I'm looking forward to that game more than any game in history. And I do feel like it's going to be an amazing game, but there's just no need to pre-order. So good for you. Intimidated. 20,000 wins with controllers since October 10 of last year. Are you crazy? With one eye. Dirt game. I'm gonna be honest, Disco. I don't think progress is slow per game because they can't do this stuff in time. Like I said, DNFs for the player could be coded in a day. Easy work. I'm not a developer, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like maybe they can at some point, do an update, right? Or a patch. I don't know, man. Boyette says, I might get the base game, but after I see more. Not going for gold or pre-order. That's right. Especially after the way NASCAR 25 was on day one. Dirt game. They're leaving things out to put in new games and increase long-term sales. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Intimidator, they're going to be DNF on humanity. No DNF for EA. All right, somebody's got to lay off the liquor bottle. I'm going to make you DNF records. All right. Anyway, guys, I got to go. I hope you appreciate the live stream. I hope maybe I clarified. Well, it's just my thoughts on it. If anything else pops up, I'll cover it. Like I said, I want to remind people, I'm not down on the game. I don't like the marketing. There's a difference. I am interested in the list of things that they claimed they added. And we have to play the game and see what it is before we make a final judgment. But I just feel like this hurts the marketing. Like the marketing, I should say, hurts the game. And marketing is supposed to help. And most of the stuff that was good, we already knew. Like we knew about crossplay. We knew about dynamic track. And it's good. They got into a little bit more detail in it. But, there's nothing here that you kind of walk away from knowing that was a big positive. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Tune in tonight. I am racing in Stream Car Series, and hopefully I don't embarrass myself. So tune into the Stream Car Series. I appreciate you guys watching, tuning in. Yeah, so I'll see you guys around. You guys have a good one. Later.